And it's time for. Wait, didn't we do this before? Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to The Color Purple. Uh, yeah, this is the 2023 version. I should specify that because we've reacted to The Color Purple already. We reacted to the original version from the 80s, and now we're going to be getting to the 2023 version. This is a donation reward for Venom. Um, and this is one of those interesting cases. I don't know off the top of my head if I've done this before. Reacted to two different versions of the same film. Um, at least, yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But yeah, so we reacted to the original 80s version. And now there's this version. And the big difference here is that this version is a musical. And apparently it wasn't advertised properly as such, and a lot of people were upset at that. Basically, the advertising listed it and mentioned it as a bold new interpretation of the original source material. And that really doesn't say much. Um, but at the same time, it's really not that big of a deal. I saw a lot of people like getting really pissy about it. It's like it's not that big of a deal. Oh boy, it's a surprise musical. Is that a bad thing? Is that an issue? Like what, why are you so upset? And I saw people also complaining about the movie Wonka for the same thing. And I'm looking at them like, dude, every interpretation of Willy Wonka has been a musical. Like, you don't even have an argument to stand on with that one. Like, with The Color Purple, okay, fair, but not with that. But anyway. So, this is going to be interesting because I know the story. And it's not like, oh, I've read the book. No, I know the story from the movie. And mind you, I don't know. I don't know exactly how accurate it was. I did look up some things last time, and I remember like one big thing of note was that the book is a lot more blatant about how gay it is. Um, it doesn't hold back as much as the original movie did. And now that we're in 2023, I'm wondering, is this movie going to be more open about that? Because while there's still a long way to go, Hollywood is a lot more open to queerness than it used to be. Um, and obviously, there's always like exceptions you can make to the old days. Like, oh yeah, there were movies back then that were very queer. And you'll find movies nowadays that very much try to push that aside. There's always going to be exceptions, but in a general sense. Now, I'm sure most of the story is going to be pretty much the same. It's going to be pretty by the numbers, but there might be some notable differences here and there. One thing of note is this movie is being done by Oprah, and she was in the first movie, so I think she's going to want to keep it as accurate as possible, but you know, just with the new twist that it's a musical, and maybe being a little more true to the book. I don't know. But I don't think there's going to be too much of an issue in that regard. Now, another thing of note I want to bring up. So, let's talk about church, because actually that's kind of relevant for this movie anyway. So I go to church. I make it no secret I'm a Christian. I go to church, and my church has this thing every January called Faith in Film. And this year we did 3 movies: The Color Purple, Wonka, and some movie called Boys in the Boat. Now I usually can't go and see every movie with them, but I had to pick and choose this year. Um, the point with the faith in film, though, before we get into that, basically, my church goes as a group to see a movie. We rent out a theater and we go see a movie each week. And then the following Sunday, my pastor preaches based on the themes and messages of the film. So the movie I went to go see with them was Wonka because that was one that was new to me because it's a prequel it's not a reinterpretation like the Johnny Depp version was. It is a straight up prequel that is a brand new story. So I wanted to see that because I felt like it would be the best choice in that regard. The color purple I knew was already going to be a reaction because of Venom suggesting it and everything, requesting it as a reward. And I wanted to, because I had already seen that, I felt like I don't need to go see that in theaters to understand the message that's going to be said by my pastor. And yeah, I was right because I understood exactly what was going to happen because again, I had seen the original. So I felt like this would be better to keep in my pocket for now and wait to watch it as a reaction. Wonka was the one again that was new to me because, original story. And then Boys in the Boat, I just have no interest in. I don't care. It doesn't sound even the slightest bit interesting to me. But yeah, so that was just a little extra, little fun tidbit to let you know that I could have seen this in theaters, but I decided no. This was requested, and this one, I feel like it would be interesting to check it out as a reaction anyway, because I reacted to the original, not even that long ago. Wonka, I can make an exception for because with that, it's like I want to see it in theaters because I, again, wanted to understand what my pastor would be talking about on that Sunday. So yeah. But anyways, moving on. So yeah, I know the story here. I just don't know how it's going to differentiate, and plus the addition of music. Now, I have heard one of the songs. I don't know when in the movie it's sang, but I've heard I heard a cover of it because it was sang during the church service for that movie. So I have heard that song. I don't remember much about it, but I'll probably recognize it when it starts. Um, but yeah, so that's all I've really heard, and all I've seen from the movie is the one trailer, the one notable trailer. I don't know if it was like the first one or if it was like the release trailer. I don't know. But the one I saw one trailer. I think I shared it on the Discord actually, and I heard one song, and that's it. Now, there's some pretty notable actors and actresses in this, and I'm very excited to see how they do in these roles. Um, this movie, for those who may not have seen my reaction to the other one, deals with some very heavy topics, and I presume it's going to showcase that as being extremely dark and intense in this movie too. So it's going to be interesting to kind of compare and contrast these two different versions. This movie is also almost 2.5 hours long, so it's a pretty long movie, but because it's a musical, that should help it go by a lot quicker. Um, but either way, I am definitely interested to see how this compares to the original. And of course, by the end, I'm going to let you know which one I preferred. Um, but yeah, the big thing I'm hoping for, honestly, is that it ends up being more overtly gay. Because apparently the book was like super obvious with it. I talked about that in the in the first movie reaction, but apparently the book is like super blatantly obvious about it. But the first movie did dial it back quite a lot. Like it was still there, and it was still very obvious. But like there is like a lot more in the book apparently. And again, I don't know how this is going to be done, so we'll just have to see. Either way, we're going to get this started, hope for the best, and see what the Color Purple 2023 has in store for us. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Do I get to do this? Do I actually get to be the old curmudgeon here? The original was better. And I don't want to take away anything from the actresses and actors and everyone who were in this, from anyone who worked on this film, the writers, the directors, the producers. I'm not trying to insult them by saying this, but for multiple reasons, I think that the original was more emotional, was more intense where it needed to be, and had a lot more depth to it. And the problem is that this is a musical. Like, don't get me wrong, the music in this is great. I love the music in this. I mean, I was crying at the end. But the problem is that for the runtime of this movie, a lot of scenes, a lot of character arcs, a lot of portions of the story had to be cut back significantly to include the addition of the music. The song sequences were well choreographed, well produced, well handled, well sung, obviously. But they came at the cost of certain parts of this story being just really weakened. For example, I mentioned this in the reaction. Sophia's character arc is almost completely cut back. Like, basically everything after she gets out of prison is completely cut out of the film. Except for when she learns to laugh again, learns to smile again, thanks to Celie at Easter dinner. Where was the depth with her facing all of that pain and misery while working for the one white woman? That was just completely taken out. I know it's not Sophia's story. I know it's Celie's story. But that was a big, like, just emotional core in the first film. It really sold that Easter dinner scene. In this version, the Easter dinner scene isn't as impactful at all. And there's a lot of scenes that aren't as impactful. I also really don't like that Albert, Mr., was more redeemed in this version. I actually like in the original movie where it was a little more subtle, and his good deed at the end was kept to himself. Something he never, like, told Celie about, something he never made this big splash about. But in here, it's like, oh no, he's suddenly friends with Celie again, because why the fuck not, even though that makes no sense. Also, I say again, but he was never friends with Celie before. He's now friends with Celie. He's, like, you know, acting all buddy-buddy with her at this, like, picnic at the end. And he makes a big, showy point of bringing in Nettie and, you know, Celie's kids and grandkids and everything. it doesn't hold the same impact. It doesn't hold the same uh, depth. Albert choosing to turn things around and become, better by doing one good thing in his damn life, but keeping it to himself and letting Nettie and Celie have that moment felt so much better than this big showy to do with kind of the entire main cast in it. It felt, rather than, actually trying to give a proper closure to the story, it was trying to have this grand cinematic ending. You know what I mean? It felt extremely forced compared to the original, and just did not work at all. And the acting is, I would say, not too much off from the original in terms of quality. I think that the actors were just as good, pretty much. Maybe the acting was a little more intense in the original. But that's another issue, because of this being a musical, it really dialed down the intensity of this film and what was happening. The abuse, the fact that, Celie was raped by the man she thought was her father and had 2 kids through that. All of this was so drastically, like, reduced in intensity and quality from the original film, because the tone of the film is different overall. The tone of this film is more like, how do I put it? Uppity? No, that's definitely the wrong word. It's more high energy, I guess. I guess that's the best way to put it. Because of it being a musical, it kind of has to be. The problem with this is that the original movie, and I don't know how the book compares, but the original movie is somber, is dark, is intense and emotional. And it just didn't hit the same way. It really didn't. Even the most emotional parts of this movie just did not hit in the same way that they did in the original. That is my biggest issue with this. And I believe there is a stage production for this, for the book, that's based on the book, just like the movie was. Um, and I think that this is trying to, like, capitalize on that in a way. But again, it's just like, I got what they were trying to do, but it minimized how intense and traumatic and painful what Celie went through was. Not to mention certain parts of this just kind of like rush by. For a movie that's almost 2.5 hours long, it felt really rushed. It felt like it was just like, again, just flying by because of the songs. The songs made it feel like the plot was second nature to, having fun music and good, well choreographed dance numbers. It took away from the emotional core and the depth and the power of this movie. And that's really disappointing. And I'm not normally one who says this kind of stuff. I'm normally very cool with remakes and updated versions of films and stuff. Like I, for example, don't hate, going back to the Wonka comparison, since I brought that up in the pre-thoughts. I don't hate the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka movie at all. In fact, I actually like it. Do I think it's as good as the original Gene Wilder movie? No. But I don't think it's bad. I think it's fun and entertaining and just kind of ridiculously hilarious. I'm I am usually not one who's against these kinds of remakes, but this one just did not work for me. And again, it's not because of the actors or the songs or anything like that. It's the pacing. It's certain creative choices they made. The fact that certain story elements were just brushed aside or cut down or just even like not really there. And it's really, really disappointing. I really just, I wanted to like this more than I did. The best part about it is, without question, the actors. The actors were phenomenal all around. Probably the standouts for me are, well, obviously Fantasia as Celie. Like, that's no surprise. She owned this role just as much as Whoopi did in the original. But I also really love Taraji P. Henson as Suge. But I also just really, really love Taraji P. Henson and honestly am very attracted to her. If I'm being honest, she's hot. She's very attractive. And she's an amazing actress, and she really showed that in her performance here. Um, Going with what I was hoping for with this film regarding the queer representation, it both did and didn't showcase it more. I feel like it had more screen time in the original movie, but it was made more apparent in this one that those feelings were there. And it was made very apparent that, like Suge and Celie even slept together. It was a lot more obvious that there was, a relationship that went beyond friendship. But again, at the same time, there was less time given to it. And after a certain point, it just drops it completely. And it's really disappointing because I feel like they could have delved more into it and done more with it. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like I feel like they put forth the effort to make it more apparent because 2023, you can do more with that, but also didn't want it to be a focus in the film, so didn't have it take up too much screen time. It's a weird combination of did and didn't work. Um, the 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 songs, like I said, were all great. I had no issue with any of them. It's just, again, the fact that they took away from plot to have them in here. I feel like maybe they could have cut out a song or two and added that time into, like, Sophia's plot, and just more of that stuff to actually build up to things. Also, take out the entire thing with Albert getting redeemed in the end, because it does not work. Especially when especially when you see that the only reason that he was sorry in the first place was because his life went down the drain. It's like, oh, I've become a drunk loser and everything's gone wrong. So I'm just gonna turn my life around and suddenly be back, like, invited back to party and hang out with my ex-wife who I horrifically abused and sexually assaulted and everything. But I'm part of the gang now. It feels so disingenuous and so wrong. You know what I mean? It's honestly gross. Again, the way that they did it in the original movie by having him like perform that good deed without the need for validation from Celie, without the need for making this big show of it, it meant more. It actually felt like he was sorry. Here, it's just not. Also, in the original film, you also saw a lot more of his squalor than him just being kind of drunk. You saw how he was living with all the animals in the house and everything. You saw his father visit, and he, gets angry at his father and tells him to leave and stuff. Here, it's like you just see him get a little drunk, and his crops are attacked by beetles. Yay. It's like it just doesn't have the same impact. It just doesn't. Again, I just don't think it works. Um, Mary Agnes was barely a character in this version. In fact, she kind of came across as insignificant. It's just like there's the big moment at the Easter dinner does not work with how like little she had relevance in this version. Like her big moment there is supposed to be because of how you've seen her previously. But it's like she was barely there. It just it felt like her part was kind of cut out, but they still wanted to include her in it, and it just did not work either. In fact, there's a lot of characters that you could say feel like they just really reduced their parts, like Harpo even as well. I just I just feel like they missed the mark by making this a musical, by trying to like I guess combine it with the stage production. Like, oh, let's do a movie remake, but let's also do a stage production at the same time. But we're not going to have the runtime work for that. Instead, we're just going to cut back on things that were, great about the original. I wish I could be more positive about this. I really do. I wish that there was more that I really liked about this. And what I do like was great. Again, the acting, the singing, the songs themselves, the dialogue, the messages and themes that are still there. Like, I still loved all of that. It was still great. This isn't a bad movie. It's just weak compared to the original movie. It doesn't work as well. And I just, I'm really disappointed by that. I really feel like it kind of just missed a lot of the points and just tried to be like this big blockbuster musical rather than focus on what made the original so good: the story, the depth, the themes and messages. But maybe that's just me. Because I looked up what critics thought, and apparently they love this film. Seeing a lot of praise for it, a lot of like talking about. I even saw like one thing that said someone had said that, oh, this is actually an improvement on the original. It's like, no, it's not. I'm like, what? No, it is not. I'm just I'm just disappointed. And I don't know if like when this releases on digital and DVD and Blu-ray and all that, I don't know if there's going to be like an extended edition that'll have like more of those types of scenes that felt like they were cut out. I don't know if there's going to be like that kind of more material to this. But I feel like this needed to be longer, or the music needed to be cut down a little bit. And they needed to keep in a lot of those other scenes that they cut out. This could have been great. This could have been like this could have been an improvement on the original, but as it is, as it stands, I don't think it was. I think that it falls short. Again, still a great film, but nowhere near as good as the original was. Just missed the mark. Did some things that just, in my opinion, did not work. But like I said, tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. What did you think of this film and how it handled certain things? What did you think of the music, the actors, etc.? Let me know your thoughts down below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.